Okay, so that's a very good question on the description of wave and tidal power and which is the most promising technologies. So I'll start with tidal power. A tidal power is something that's akin to an underwater windmill. So if I asked somebody that was sort of had a general view of marine renewables and asked them to describe what a tidal turbine looked like, they would describe something that looks similar to a wind turbine, but it's in below the water, and you know there's a high degree of design consensus there. And because of that sort of consensus of design, that everybody believes that that's a very successful way to generate tidal power, and its similarities to the offshore wind and to the wind sector, there has been a lot of technology and knowledge transfer between the two. So in order for a sector to be successful, then you need to have, you know, political support, you need industry support, and you need academic support. And because those things already existed in the wind and offshore wind sector, it was relatively straightforward to see how that could transfer over into the tidal power sector. The wave sector is more of a challenge. If I asked the same group of people to describe a wave energy device to me, then they would give a wide variety of ideas and a wide variety of concepts and engineering designs. And that's because there is not a straightforward analogy or synergy with another sector that you can just transfer that technology over from. And so that's led to being, you know, less interest from the industrial sector, because the industrial sector would like to see, you know, what it is that they want to engage with and support and commercialise, and it's not obvious to them what that is currently. On saying that, the wave sector is a much bigger resource globally than tidal power, and so the prize is, you know, orders of magnitude bigger, and so there is still great interest in sort of finding the correct solution. And so I would say that your main differences there are that, you know, the tidal sector globally, it's quite niche with regard to the places in the world that exists. Still a big market. Wave power, an enormous market, but less consensus on the technology. I think there are a number of ways you can look at that question. Is what are the main challenges with regard to the technical challenges, what are the main challenges politically, what are the main challenges environmentally. But I think that you need to sort of look at each of those individually. And I think overall the main challenge that's required is the maintaining political will. And so whether that be political will at a member state country like in Scotland where we are today, or at the European level, or internationally, this is a big challenge to generate power from the sea with enormous potential. But it does require collaboration, and it does require sustained political will. You know, we discussed earlier that this is a nascent technology, and to take any nascent technology through to being a commercial mature product requires sustainability, and it requires sustenance, and it requires this, you know, sustained political will to make that happen. There are, of course, then the technology challenges with regard to making sure that you have a reliable product, a well-performing product, a product that does not harm the environment, all at a cost that's suitable for the consumer. And so you have those political challenges and you have those technical challenges which have to go hand in hand. So making sure that you have the right revenue support, so there's a market signal there for the industry to see that there is a market for this product. At the same time, making sure that there is technology push support in order that you can develop a technology that will go there. And having the right mix of the two at the right time for the technology is extremely important. All of those estimates on what the UK's ocean energy resource could give with regard to meeting a certain percentage of their demand, that's a future scenario that will only happen if there's political will against it, or a political will supporting it. And so if a policymaker says to me, okay, what will be the deployed capacity of wave and tidal power by 2050? And I say, well, you're a big part of that question, because political will is an extremely strong driver with regard to making that happen. If we look at what the technical resource is within the UK, I think the figure is that I think 15% of the UK's electricity demand by 2050 could come from ocean energy. We have enough resource in the oceans around the United Kingdom to allow that to happen. How much of that percentage is utilised comes back to that sort of trilogy or three corners of the triangle of policymakers, the working with government, making sure that we are in alignment with industry, with underpinning research that supports that. So whether it's 5%, whether it's 8%, whether it's 15%, is all down to political will, sharing of information, and making sure that the right policies are in the right place at the right time to make sure that you have an accelerated innovation path to allow those deployments to take place. Here in the UK, the biggest range of underpinning support for the development of the technology, and I'll split this into development of the technology and the deployment of the technology. For the development of technology, the biggest underpinning science programme is the Supergen Marine programme run by EPSRC, and then the largest commercial development or industry development to take that underpinning research and turn it into technology is a programme called Wave Energy Scotland run by the Scottish Government. Then we don't have, you mentioned, a feed-in tariff. We have a market mechanism called a contract for difference. Currently we do not have a special arrangement of a contract for difference particular to ocean energy. We come into an overall bracket where we have to compete with offshore wind, which I have described as a suboptimal arrangement, because it's quite hard for a nascent technology of ocean energy to compete with a more mature technology of offshore wind. But nonetheless, we have that market mechanism in there. So we have that balance of having the underpinning research and commercial development that I would call technology push, and then we have the contracts for difference, a market pool. At a European level, the European Commission have the Horizon 2020 programme that they're just currently drafting their 18, 19, 20 work programme with regard to how they will support the development of the technology for wave and tidal power. I was reviewing it last week, and then they have their market pool mechanism, or their equivalent of a market pool mechanism of the NER 300, which provides a sort of the equivalent of a sort of a feed-in tariff at a European level or at a project level for European projects.